Good morning, directors present, deputy directors, senior colleagues, and my colleagues. Good morning and welcome to day 3 of the ongoing step-down training and presentations on workshops outside the country. Today, we are going to have a presentation on the topic Census Reference Centers with Electronic Data Collection in Africa. And it's going to be taken by a man who actually needs no introduction as far as the commission is concerned, one of our own finance from the census department. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me to welcome Dr. Bakari Inuajalingo.
Good morning, directors here and those of us that are online. It's a pleasure to make this presentation on my visit, official visit to Cape Verde, the Director General of the Commission. It's a workshop that only 2 countries, that is Nigeria and Egypt, spoke in English. So every other person was speaking either French or Portuguese. And I felt so bad that I did not take my French classes serious when I was in secondary school. So I'm trying to urge the young ones, especially if you are 40 years and below, please try to learn other language apart from the English. Try to learn either Mandarin, Portuguese, or French, but make sure that you don't know only English. So, but we tried to develop strategies of communication, and the handset was very useful. You write in English, it will translate in the language. That is how we communicate to our colleagues from other countries. But by and large, we had excellent translators during the conference. But I can tell you, I want to acknowledge Ibukun again for his ingenuity. I gave him the presentations and he translated all of them to English. I don't know what he used, but I think he used something that is available online to translate all the presentations to English. And we'll make these presentations also available to you. So I'm going to go through the presentation, but as much as possible, I will be doing most of the talking, not reading the slides. Censuses are an essential tool of understanding population of a country and its characteristics. So they provide data on demographic, housing, and other important factors that are used for development planning, resource allocation, and decision making. The workshop just showed recent census methodologies in Africa, advancements, innovations. And what was very glaring was that the use of digital technologies for collection and preparation of the census based on the 2020 round of census recommendations. So all countries have adopted digital methods in trying to collect their data, just like as we tried to do here. So the use of CAPI was very prominent by all countries that did census or about to do census. And there's a high level reliance on GIS in census mapping. Like I've always said, nobody in Africa have done what we have done here as far as our mapping exercise is concerned. And this is something that we all have to be proud of. Our colleagues are helping Angola presently. They have helped Sierra Leone and they have helped Ghana. And so there's a lot of market. I want to tell all of us that let us be serious with whatever we are doing as far as this census is concerned, because after the census, you have international market for expertise. And the use of technologies, especially in mobile device and tablets, and the development of robust data management and quality assurance system. A lot is on data management, and a lot of countries presented what they have done in terms of data management and quality assurance, and which we also are trying to leverage here to do. Then the sponsors of the workshop, most of them written, I think ABC is a Brazilian corporation, IBG is also Brazil. The third one is the Statistical Institute of Cape Verde, and NSD is also a francophone statistic organizations that also support censuses and data collection. And UNFPA is an organization that we all know, even if they wake you up and you are sleeping, you know what UNFPA means. So these are the people that sponsored that workshop. Then I just want to a little bit, this workshop is based on South-South corporations. And it is a very important corporation that have started a long time ago. It's a growing trend to ensure that we speak to ourselves within the South-South regions. And so this collaboration is going on, and it is an alternative to us relying on Europe and on America and all the North America, not the South. So basically, Brazil has been a very proactive actor in advancing South-South cooperation, particularly through trilateral cooperation with international organizations. This involves working with 2 or more developing countries to share knowledge and expertise on specific development issues. So the Brazilian Agency for Cooperation, that is ABC, plays a central role in Brazil's SSC effort. It has implemented around 9,000 technical cooperation initiatives with over 135 developing countries and 45 international organizations. Because there is a lot that we can do through the South-South cooperation. Some of the benefits of the SSC include shared ownership and responsibility for development program, transfer of knowledge and expertise between countries with similar challenges and contexts, and more effective and sustainable development outcomes. And part of our justifications for buying about 800,000 tablets is that we are going to share it to our South-South countries that require them. Because 800,000 tablets is by no means a small thing, that after the census, we don't even know how we are going to store them, how we are going to keep them. So definitely part of even the Executive Council memo was that we are going to assist other countries, especially those in the South-South. So even if we are not there, if they come looking for it, please endeavor to give them, because that is part of the justifications. And it's part of the cooperation. What are the best practices? I cannot bring you a report of about 15 countries. So, but I just tried to pick areas that it will interest us to know across the presentations of the countries. The best practices is use of digital technologies, which I have already said so. And I can tell you for almost all our census operations, we have leveraged on digital technologies. Those that we have not done very well, I think we have the gift of time to try and see how to improve them and ensure that they are optimally utilized. And I think, like we have said, on the sideline of this civil registration system meeting that took place in CBN, and I think I reiterated on Friday here when the meeting continued, that as a statistical organization, all of us have to be digitally compliant. And we know that some of the things that we planned for use for the census, we couldn't implement them optimally because of capacities of our staff, either at the state, at the headquarters, or the local government area. And I always like to cite, the recruitment system is supposed to be an end-to-end. That is, we'll see that you enter the census, and we see you exit after giving your materials and you are paid. Everything is supposed to be seen on that system. But that is not the case. That was not the case because capacities were weak. People take things to business centers, recruitment to business centers to recruit. At the end of the day, you finish recruiting, the business center man continue from where you stop. And it created a lot of problems for us. So if we are all trying to work for the census, wherever you are, is the gift of time, you have to be digitally compliant. You cannot be a controller without being digitally compliant. So everybody needs to up his game. because we cannot give you a car to ride or an aircraft to fly when you cannot, you are risking the life of everybody. And these censuses are implemented in the states. So there is need for collaboration. Many countries are collaborating with other countries and international organizations to share best practices and learn from each other's experience. I want to leverage more on our South-South corporations and probably even from our African brothers. When we wanted to do this census, we wanted somebody to come from US Census Bureau. But they said in the next 8 months, 9 months, 10 months, they cannot give us one person to come from there. We had to leverage from first our colleague in Ghana that implemented a digital census and later in Tanzania. And as much as possible, they provided these services that what people that were expecting from US Census Bureau to give us. So these are all the things that we need to leverage on. Again, another thing that Cape Verde did, which is I also term as a best practice, is video classes to train. And I know we have tried to leverage on that, but I think we need to do more on that. Then communication. I can tell you, that's why I specifically invited our director PAD to be seated here, and I believe with some of our management staff. I can tell you, if you want to gauge our communication prior to our planned census, I can tell you we have not done 10% or even 5%. So I want to challenge all of us, especially those of us in the communication space. Because if you see Senegal, if you see Cape Verde, they are small countries. Cape Verde is less than 600 million people. But if you see how elaborate their communication strategies and communication for the census was, you understand. So it was so massive and so aggressive. And I believe the state directors are listening to me, the controllers are listening to me. So it is not something that you have to wait for PAD Abuja to tell you what to do. All of us have to play our game. It's just like Nigeria. Everybody is caring about federal government. Nobody cares how much allocation the state government got. Is that clear? And what is he doing to I'm not trying to do this thing, but everybody is looking at the face of the president. But the president only deal with allocation at the headquarters. What of the state's allocations? You understand? So I want all of us as a unit of operations to take responsibility. Like now we are trying to do all these things without money. There are a lot of things states can do without money. Is that clear? There are a lot of things local government controllers can do without money before the count of the census. So at least consultations with group, I think why I mentioned it is because their communication strategy was massive and it was to the rural areas, to the key stakeholders. Everybody was contacted one-on-one. So it was massive. And you know, prior to the census that we wanted to hold, you find out that a lot of places you go, they will tell you they don't know. Even now, a lot of people don't know even about the census. They don't even know what we have done. So I think I want to challenge our colleagues in PAD to come up. We have a strategy document. But if that is too technical or too distant, let us try is for you to look at that plan, see how we can add life to that plan. And you are coming to make your presentation to us. So we'll try to see how we can be massive, how we can be aggressive to ensure that at least because Nigeria is a very complex country. You see how we can. So for instance, communication from like 12% of the Brazilian budget for the census was on communication. Madam, do we give you 12% of our budget? 12%. So you can see, I'm just trying to highlight, well, whatever we do, you understand, however technically sound we are, however do this we are, if our communication strategy, it did not get to the grassroots, it did not get to people. Is that clear? Especially now that we want to integrate, there's an ongoing discussion about NIMSI also being there. So biometric capture for NIMSI. So, madam, we need to discuss so much on that. But I think your department will come and make a presentation to us. We have to turn around that communication and make it very, very, very distant. Unfortunately, we have a budget, but we'll see what we can do within the distance. Then I just decided to bring census in numbers. Just to pick the numbers. Some countries have spoken on their numbers of what they are doing, and I just tried to bring it so that you realize that if you are the state director of Kano or Katsina, you are doing the census of Niger. You understand? So you find out that, like Kevat, I told you, less than 600,000. But if you see the elaborate planning and this and that, it is so elaborate. So some of our states are even doing the census of some countries in Africa. Sierra Leone, many states are more than Sierra Leone. Many states are more than Togo. Like that, like that. So you find out that the work we are doing here is very, very massive. It's a very massive job. So I just tried to bring out the numbers. This is our estimated population. We're proposing a census in 2024. Our technology, we have our census part and also our CS Pro. Most of the countries are strictly using CS Pro for their census. And if you look at the population, you can see what we are talking about in terms of numbers and in terms of our population that we want to count. So again, if you look at our personnel, I was teasing the man from Niger who was seated next to us, because all the tablets they needed was about 23,000. And I said, okay, maybe we can just, assuming that you are still part of ECOWAS, we can give you that of Katsina. Just take it to your country from the border. So you can look at the tablets we are having to deal with. I think only Tanzania was close to us with about 200,000 out of the countries that visited. So if you look at managing these tablets, I always tell my colleagues in ICT, where is Mike? He's not here, but by the time you struggle for job, only the tablet of a state will overwhelm you. So you have to have effective strategic plan to deal with all this. You know, my only problem is that, look, we know that we have trained a lot of people, but unfortunately, those of us that have experienced census are becoming very thin. How many people experience census in this hall? How many? You understand? So our problem is, if we retire and you don't do this census, seriously, theory and practice are two different things entirely. You understand? But I pray that you have the guidance of some people around either in the states or in the headquarters. And hopefully if the date becomes very realistic. So, but we have trained you enough in the classes. And I can tell you, even if you go to Karu, when we did the trial census in Karu, and I'm happy we did Karu. Karu alone overwhelmed. I know that there were about 4 or 5 deputy directors working in Karu, apart from the normal staff. In a sense, can we get this caliber of people in one local government area? The best a deputy director can get is probably managing 2 states. You understand? So, but by the time you are deploying 5 deputy directors and still things are not, so there's a lot of work. And I hope that we have another trial census and do it very well. Okay, this is a slide that is from us here. We tried to epileptic up there. I just wanted to look at from phase 12 of the EAD war. You realize that when we had everything, by the virtue of we are using full technology, you can see the time it took us to finish one phase. It's just very fast compared to other times. But other time, I know there are other challenges, funding and all this and all that. But from phase 12 to 18, there was steady flow of every resources that was required for the EAD. You can see that the time was so short because the use of technology has enhanced our operations. So I also want to look at some of the African census innovations for those countries that were at the workshop. Most of the countries, like we have said, adopted CAPI. Brazil used CASI. And CASI is just self-interviewing. You do it yourself. So hard to reach people. Are they here? I know we cannot do it for everybody in Nigeria, but at least we can look at the diplomatic community. You understand? These are all the things that they will not like you to do. We can decide to give them to interview themselves. These are all other options that we can try. You understand? Then implementation of digital cartography for improved mapping and geographic data management. So a lot of countries are now moving to fully GIS map, just like we have done. But I can tell you, nobody have done as much as what we have done. Utilization, Angola are still in their mapping, and they are hoping to do a census before the end of the year. So we wish them well, and maybe they don't have the complexities that we have. They want to do a census in September, but as they are still, as we are talking now, they are still doing their mapping. So using of tablets and smartphone making data collection easier in remote areas was generally discussed. And then introduction of online questionnaires and self-enumeration option in some countries, like I have said. But I said in Nigeria, you cannot do it for everybody. You can only do it for your diplomats and other foreigners that you think that cannot, because they don't have any business in trying to add things like we normally want to do here. Pilot testing of alternative data collection methods like satellite imagery and administrative data. So these are all what other countries have done, use of other administrative data to support it. Like we said, census is moving. Probably by the time the recommendation for 2030 round of censuses come, you know, the issue of physical headcounts every time will become not necessary. So countries are likely going to use population register just to update their population and reduce the expenditure and a lot of things that we are spending on censuses, because it's very, very expensive. Data management and quality. Development of more robust data management system for efficient data storage and processing. This is an area that I want we have to do a lot on these areas. Is that clear? If I can tell you, this is the area that I feel I'm not 100% confident is our data management system. We need to ensure data security and ensure that there is end-to-end flow without any challenges. Then implementation of automated consistency checks and validation rules to improve data accuracy. This we have done as much as possible in our CS entry systems. Real-time data monitoring to improve quality control during data collection. We are trying to ensure we do that with our CDAT, probably during the next trial census or the end-to-end test that we are going to start very soon. We should be able to ensure that all this happens. And like I have said, colleagues, we can bring our colleagues from broader African countries that have implemented digital census to help us, because they have practiced it. And so they know the challenges and they know how did they solve their own problem. So the earlier we do that, the better. So there were general challenges that were expressed by countries during the meetings, you know, and one of it, like that's why I said census is more public awareness driven, because to make it successful, if everything is successful, it's the people you are counting, it's the people you are visiting, it's the people that you are going to canvass questions from. Is that clear? And our question, seriously, is slightly longer than normal. You understand? So definitely, we're overcoming resistance of lack of cooperation from certain segment of the population. You understand? Now you have different kind of communities. In the southeast, what do you call them? Mosoko? Eh? In the north, Boko Haram. There is no part, even within the state, there are a lot of other small groups that are challenged. So concern about data confidentiality and how the information will be used, especially if our collaboration with NIMSI works out, we find out that we need to do a lot in terms of educating Nigerians so that their data cannot be compromised. And our population illiteracy generally. So dealing with illiterate population is always a challenge. If you have an interviewer that a respondent that is educated, the time you spend in trying to interview him is always shorter, far shorter than somebody that is this. And I'm happy that this issue also came up in our discussions at the conference. Countries experience a lot of fake news. You understand? And this is going to be a major challenge to us. So whatever strategy public affairs is going to come up with is how to deal with the issue of fake news. Even when we started, even with the trial, even with our general operations, a lot of fake news going about this. Today we hear this. Every day we are dealing with one fake news or the other. People creating your portal. There's nothing that you don't have. So if we are going to do this, it's going to be worse. So we need to come up with, at all levels of operations, a strategy. Election was held like 3 weeks in my constituency, my House of Representative constituency. Just a day before the election, there's circulated information that one of the candidates have stepped down for the order. You understand? And it's 3 local government area, and it was all in the social media. Tell me, whether you like it or not, that candidate must have lost some potential voters. Before they can disclaim it, and it will not even, when you even disclaim, how many times? During the trial census, how many times did they say that, Muslims population are segmented in the census questionnaire to the Rika, Shia, and it was done so that we don't see the collective population of Muslims and all this and all that. That one, we had about 3 barrage of those informations. They did one, and up to the last third one, you disclaimed the first one, the second one came. The third one also came. And prominent people will still be calling you. Despite the fact that we responded to the first, we responded to the second. Chairman was here, I was on here. So we did a lot, but that does not stop other people not hearing the first response and still thinking that that is true. So, Madam Publicity, have to be radio. So, then one of the other major constraints, and that is also our own constraint here, is financial factors. Securing adequate funding for a comprehensive census effort and costs associated with technology, training, and logistics. You see, in our own census, we have to procure everything. So assuming we have not procured the about 800,000 tablets, do we think we can even do the census now with the inflation? We probably, when we procured these tablets, dollar was less than 700 naira to $1. But now what is it? So you can multiply the difference and put it on top of the tablet cost. You understand? And so many other things. And Nigeria is a very, very big country, diverse. And even if you look at it, the money we're paying, we're about the least paid in terms of functionary for census. But people are always looking at it, it's too expensive. You understand? So these are some of the things that we census practitioners have to deal with. How to defend the census cost. Is that clear? And it's also publicity challenge, because we have to make people understand that these costs are justifiable. Okay, I have this slide. I don't normally ask question on my slide, but this time around, my technician has added a question mark. I would rather change it. What Nigeria have learned. Is that clear? So different countries have employed the use of different tools to ensure that analysis is fast and accurate. I think one country said they have presented the preliminary report in 1 week. 1 week. I can't remember the country, but see that we can look at the presentations critically and see, so that I know. So I'm just telling you the advantage of how fast technology is. But I don't think we can achieve that with our own peculiarities or problems. Some countries added some recent tools like programming language for analysis and data processing, like Sao Tome introduced use of Python and SQLite. You know them better. Brazil introduced incentive to reach out to some non-responsive population. We cannot do that, definitely. But I can tell you how aggressive some countries are. Is that clear? And incentive sometimes does not mean you give money. You understand? But this is what some other countries have done. Then, you know, Nigeria may not be able to, we need to find a way of reaching out to segments. I have also provided the answer. People, especially amid current economic crisis, to prevent anger and rejection of the process. So if we are going ahead with the census as planned, seriously, that's why I want, Madam, how soon can you come and present to us? You know, most of the work is going to be on your tables. Seriously. Even today, as I was driving to the office, I was thinking, when you look at the social media, this. So to do a census and convince the populace that you need a census now, it's like 10 times more challenging than last year. Eh? So that is why we have to come up with this thing. So a comprehensive publicity strategy is needed to ensure that the general public are in tune with it, especially with collaboration with NIMSI, provide rejections to prevent rejection from the public. A comprehensive data protection policy is very important and must be communicated to the public to enhance trust in the system or process. The question was asked, and I'm going to throw it to our ICT management. Is that clear? And we have never discussed it in any meeting that I have attended. Somebody said with our 800,000 tablets, do we have electronic waste management strategy plan? It's a valid question. So if we don't have one, we need to start thinking. You know, you don't throw away the battery, everything that will come out. If the battery is waste, how do you throw it away? How do you dispose the tablets if they are found unfunctional and unusable? Are you going to throw it in the toilet? Are you going to throw it in the water, sea, or ocean? So all this, you have to have a strategic plan. It will come up. So let us see what other countries have done with their electronic waste and develop a strategy for our census, because we are going to use a lot our power banks. You can see how massive our power banks are. When they are not functional, how do we deal with them? You understand? So we have to have that strategy as part of the census plan. So acknowledgement, these are just the agencies that have supported us in the past, which I have also acknowledged there, and we are looking out for them to do more. UNAPA, I think our colleagues are flying out of Nigeria today on PS to Addis Ababa to attend a conference, about 3 of them. So courtesy of UNAPA, we continue to look for such opportunities and make sure that people participate. UNECA, we have a group with them. I have shared some of the step-down training that we have done. And immediately they say that whatever area we want, they are ready to support us for capacity building. So Philip, where is Philip? So we are going to send a mail to them and follow it up so that more of our colleagues will be part of it. And like the DG have said, and I told our colleagues, we'll try as much as possible to see that this thing gets to the states too, not necessarily always domiciled in the headquarters. Start South Africa, we have also discussed with them. They have supported some of our, at least one supported, and they are also ready to follow up and see that they support our colleagues. Egypt is just for sharing their expertise and experience. Egypt has a lot of massive statistical data, and they're also using their homegrown softwares to drive their systems. Probably, I think we need to have an interface with that country too. Either they come or we go to see what they are doing, because they have always worked, their presentation are always sourced in terms of what they do. ONS, they are always ready, and we're also going to explore opportunities with them so that our colleagues will also participate. So on that note, I will like to say obrigado. That is one thing that I have learned and I cannot forget. It's another way of saying thank you. Thank you very much. So I will, if there are questions, comments, or contributions, please. We'll listen to people here and also online. Thank you very much. Yes. One, any other person? 2, 3, 4. Can we start from the floor, then we finish on the high table? 1, 2, 3 are recognized on the floor.
I need to stand on the system protocol. And my question is, the CM was saying that Mr. Ajayi did the census. The CM was talking about advocacy. Yes, this is very important for successful census. Thank God we didn't do the census last year. A lot of people were not aware that something like that was going on. Now, how are we going to put it this time around? For instance, the NPC is going on in the states. How many states have done the publicity? Let's look at it from that angle. I don't know what the management do to ensure that people in the states are aware that something like that is going on. Because not even for the commission to say this is how to do the work. It's another thing for the power that be at the state level to do something contrary. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, CN, for that fantastic presentation. My question is, you made mention in the when you are presenting concerning the best practices, the use of digital technology, and you said categorically that the oculars are technologically backward. And considering the census that we are planning to undertake, it requires check and everyone to be technologically sound. As the CM, the success and failure of the census will be your responsibility. I don't know your effort you are making for now, because since the census was postponed last year up to this time, what have you made in ensuring that the controllers of those at the states are properly trained in order to be in control? And secondly, on financial factor, it says securing additional funds for the census, especially considering the time we are in right now. Within the past 4 or 5 months, we know what the situation of things are, especially inflation. If actually the government makes estimates of what it's going to cost us to conduct the census last year, can that same estimate be able to work now? And what efforts is the Commission making to ensure that they provide or meet people to ensure that they give additional fund? Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for the presentation. The last speaker has almost finished my questions. Sir, my name is Omaja Emmanuel. I will just add this to it. I was just going to ask this to it. He only talked about the controllers. As the man at the driving seat of this digital sensors, listening to the presentation you made, everything that has to do with these sensors has to be digitalized. What efforts are we looking at to ensure that staff all over the country, the 774 local governments, are in the same level where we are at the headquarters, so that we can mitigate the challenges we faced during the last presentation preparation for our sensors, when we had more adult staff occupying critical roles. We have looked this in a way that staff of the National Population Commission will occupy the driving seat of this assignment at the state level. And like you said, we need them to be in the state at the level being digitalized. So if we have a roadmap as the commission to carry out